From the Soviet official came a different view.
The radioactivity of the territory of the nuclear power station and the surrounding settlement dropped by 1.5 to 2 times. Work is underway to decontaminate the contaminated areas adjacent to the nuclear power plant territory. Medical assistance is administered to those affected, of whom 18 people are in a serious condition.
Swedish scientists said late today new satellite pictures show there are no more fires at the Chernobyl plant. A spokesman for them said the photos clearly show no more smoke spewing from the damaged reactor. There was a most unusual House Energy Subcommittee hearing today. The star witness was a Soviet official, Vitaly Churkin, second secretary at the Soviet Embassy in Washington.
How could you have not warned Sweden, Norway, Poland, Finland, Austria, and all the rest of those surrounding countries? The world is appalled, Mr. Churkin, and they want to know why you didn't warn them.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to emphasize that we are certainly well aware of our responsibilities as the member of the international community. At times we hope that the United States would be similarly aware of its responsibilities. What I'd like to say, though, that we have been very forthcoming and we have been contacting other countries on that accident. It is my understanding that no harm was done, real harm in those countries which are adjacent to the Soviet Union, to the people who live there. And I would imagine, again, that first there was a desire to see what was really happening and what the consequences of that could be before you make any public announcements.
What about your own citizens? Had they been notified with regard to the effects of this accident
at the
early stages of it?
Let me assure you, Mr. Chairman, that those people who are affected by those accidents are very well taken care of, and if they have any medical problems, they would not have even medical bills to pay.
Isn't it true, Mr. Churkin, in reality, that you should have been not celebrating May Day, but rather radioing May Day to your citizens and to your neighbors with regard to the danger?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that it would not be correct on my part to accept any advice coming from you, with all due respect, on what we should have or should have not done in our country, especially those things which do not affect in any way negatively the plight of those people who have been affected by this tragic accident.
Mr. Churkin is with us now. Mr. Churkin, you also told the congressman the accident is continuing. Continuing in what way?
Well, it was a long hearing, and you can quote lots of things from a long hearing. What I'd like to say and what I'd like to make clear is that there is no nuclear fusion chain reaction going on. The 3 remaining unaffected by the accident power plants of that nuclear power units of that nuclear power plant have been disconnected. They are in operational state and what we call operational reserve. They are not affected, and the power unit which has been affected is deadened. So to me, I'm not an expert in those matters, but to me it sounds like the accident itself is actually being on the wane. I referred to the continuation of the accident in terms of its consequences. Not all the consequences obviously have been taken care of. Things are continuing there. People continue to be treated. In the area, in the immediate area of that Chernobyl nuclear power plant, there is decontamination efforts. They are very cautious in the general Kiev region, but the Council of Ministers of the Ukraine have reported that there is no problem in that general area, that the air basin is in acceptable state, the water is in an acceptable state. But of course, the accident is continuing in that not all the consequences have been cleared up yet.
But there is no fire still burning in that reactor?
You know, I'm a little cautious in answering those technical questions. What I can say is that there is no nuclear chain reaction, nuclear fuel chain reaction. I don't actually know what a fire means in that particular context.
But no, as far as you know, no radiation is still spewing out into the atmosphere from the plant?
This is my understanding of the information we have in the embassy, that the reactor has been deadened, and other things have taken place which I've told you about.
Sure.
That means to me that the most dangerous part of the accident is over. But again, I have to emphasize that I'm not a technical expert. I'm only handling the information I have.
Okay. There were reports yesterday in this country that a second reactor, there are 4 there, as you mentioned. One of them we know about, but there may have been a fire and a meltdown in a second reactor. Is that true?
The last information we had on the state of that nuclear power plant, I believe 2 days ago, was that the remaining 3 nuclear power plants or units have not been affected. Since that time, we have not had any information on that specific point.
All right. You said today, you read to the congressman, we ran it in our news summary, it was also read on television in Moscow. The official statement today said that 18 of the 197 people who were injured are in serious condition. What kind of injuries do they have?
I don't have information on the precise nature of their illnesses or their condition. I would imagine that this is something which happens when there is radiation in the air.
Were they right there in the plant? Were these people?
I don't know where. Where they were. What I can tell you is that there were 2 people who are dead.
What caused their death? Do you know?
No, not exactly. There were 197 people hospitalized. 49 of them were released after a medical checkup. And as of May the 1st, that is as of today in Moscow, 18 people, as you pointed out, are in serious condition.
But you don't know what specifically they're suffering
I
from,
don't.
presumably from radiation injuries of some kind. Is that correct?
Well, I would not dispute that conclusion, but I cannot say that it is necessarily a correct conclusion.
We ran a small portion of your answer, but specifically, Mr. Churkin, why did your government wait till Monday? Apparently well, first of all, this accident occurred on Saturday. Is that correct?
On April the 26th. Was it Saturday? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. There was no official announcement, no official word from the Soviet Union until Monday. Why the delay?
I don't know the exact reasons for that. I would imagine that possibly people in Chernobyl were trying to figure out what was happening. It being a Saturday, maybe it was not immediately clear. It was, of course, clear that there was an accident, but maybe they did not know that there was that release of radioactive substance into atmosphere. But I don't have a precise official answer as to why the announcement came on Monday.
What do you say to many leaders of European countries, particularly in Scandinavia, who have accused the Soviet Union of withholding vital information to the safety of their citizens?
We are talking to those countries. We have been trying to be as forthcoming on this matter as we can, to give them all information we think may be necessary for them. If they have any questions, we are in contact with them. We are discussing the situation.
What about you told the committee today that there was still danger to Soviet citizens in the area. What did you mean?
Again, I would not subscribe to that quotation out of context, but since there is, in the immediate vicinity of the power plant, there is clearly some level of radiation which is not healthy for human beings. So people have been evacuated. And work is going on in that area. In those terms, of course, there is danger, as I understand it, for people who might be involved in the work, for example, for decontamination of the contaminated area. And they are watching very closely the situation around it in the entire Kiev region to see if there are no indications of any unusual phenomena there. So far, fortunately, there have been no abnormalities there in the state of the air basin or the water basin in that region.
Mr. Churkin, have you been watching the U.S. coverage on television of this accident?
Some of it.
Yeah. As you know, on this program and on other programs, members of the United States Senate and others have accused your government of telling blatant lies about this accident. How do you respond to that kind of charge?
Well, personally, I'm a little disturbed. I think that this is a very bad way to go from that point. I think that that accident should serve as a basis from which to work together to try to prevent any things of this kind from happening in the future in the Soviet Union or anywhere else, including the United States. When people try to posture instead of talking in a cooperative manner on those subjects, then I don't see how we can go from there. I think that as human beings, as people, we must learn from experiences, and learning is a calm process. There is no place for politics in the bad sense of that word in that particular case, I would say.
Mr. Churkin, it's unusual, to say the least, for an official of the Soviet government to appear before a committee of the House of Representatives of the United States. What caused you to do that today, sir?
We were trying to be forthcoming. They asked us to, and
in other words, they initiated the invitation.
Yes, of course. They invited. It is an unusual invitation, but they invited us. And
when did you get the invitation?
I heard about it about an hour before the hearing started. But since we had some information, and I said from the outset of the hearing that it was a sort of limited information. After all, we're an embassy. We are not a ministry in charge of atomic energy. We're an embassy. We had some information. They were interested to have information. We gave them what we had.
And Moscow said it was all right?
Well, personally, I'm not sure we asked for instructions. We are courageous fellows.
To you, Mr. Thomas, you're courageous fellows? Is that what you said? Okay. Mr. Thomas, what do you think about the Soviet approach to this? No news from Moscow, and yet Mr. Churkin appears before a congressional committee today and appears on this program tonight. What kind of question? Do you have any specific piece of information that you would like to get from Mr. Churkin tonight that would help you unravel this mystery?
The State Department, as I indicated, is working with the Soviet embassy and Soviet government to request the specific information. We've been in communication with them. I think both the information on the immediate situation as well as Mr. Churkin indicated, what we can both learn from this tragedy to prevent future occurrences is exactly how we're working with the Soviet government and want to work with the Soviet government.
Mr. Thomas, is it possible that the Soviet Union has been telling the truth about this the whole time?
The conjecture on truth or not truth is not what we're trying to concentrate on. We're trying to concentrate on obtaining the information that is necessary for assessing the situation and the consequences of the situation.
Well, let me say something.
Yes.
I think that at this point it may be too early to say what is the truth and what is not the truth. They give their version of what they think may have happened. I would not rule out that people who are investigating that thing are not sure now what actually has caused the accident. So, you know, when people come out and say this is what has happened, but they are not saying that and accusing us of things, I don't think it's fair on their part.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Churkin. Can Mr. Thomas leave here tonight assured that one day soon the United States and the rest of the world is going to find out everything that happened in that accident and the kind of information that he and others would need to prevent here and any other place in the world?
As has been pointed out correctly, we are talking. It is not our intention to prevent others from learning something about that accident that might prevent accidents of this kind in the future, where of course, we would like to prevent those accidents and would be prepared to cooperate in preventing them in the future.
Does that sound like a deal, Mr. Thomas?
Absolutely, and that kind of working and cooperation and the kind of information that we need as soon as possible is exactly the kind of cooperation that is important for this event.
Thank you both very much for being with us tonight.